Thank you. My name is Steve Carlson. I have worked in this neighborhood as the managing editor of the Asian American Press. You'll notice its office has a train running in front of it, and the neighborhood is basically a disaster. The Central Corridor represents the failure of Washington, D.C. decision-making using stimulus dollars and not to kickstart the economy here in St. Paul, but to kick it, some have said, in the gut. Now, but I want to thank you very much for inviting me. I know from my experience that you are leaders. You are dignified people and organized people, and one of the things that might happen because of mistakes and disasters like Central Corridors, where we could see the outflow of people through California to Texas, in the case of the Vietnamese, New York, other areas, because of bad decisions we're making, and we could lose your energy. Now, recently people have been talking about Paul Wellstone. I knew Paul. Paul was a fighter and a motivator, and I have to think that if Paul Wellstone was still here, I met him down at our office when he came to speak about how the vitality and the contribution to the industry of the refugees from Laos, from Vietnam, from all over. I think he would be fighting for us. If he were listening to us, as has been pointed out, that the Democrats have not listened to us, he would fight for us and he would bring this country and this area back. And so I would like to do that. Now, I think we need to resist. And the way that we can resist is on November 6th. Now, when the Hiawatha line was built, the Indian community, American Indian community in Little Earth, it was going to go right past their property, as it has done so many times in this country's history, and they resisted, and changes were made. And I think changes need to be made, and I'm glad to hear that somebody like Sandy Pappas at least is open to that.
And I've already said that I think that there was an error in the planning and not paying enough attention to the impact of small businesses. None of us had ever experienced building a light rail system before. It's like the largest construction project in the history of the state, practically, compared to big freeways that we build all the time. And so there were errors that were made, and I still think that there are ways that we can still help businesses, and I invite the business community to call upon me, and I will see what I can do in negotiating with the Met Council.
Now, also I have specific proposals, for instance, which I don't think the other candidates have, to solve the crisis of light rail and save St. Paul and the Midway University Avenue area while moving Minnesota forward. So clearly, when we commit ourselves to a program of federal elitism in Washington, and those elitist schemes fail like they clearly have since 2008, we have to have some way to pull out of it. To use a metaphor, we can't leave the plane on autopilot when we can take back the controls manually and navigate our way home. I think, and I've asked people already kind of indirectly, and I'm going to ask them directly, is to support this federal waiver that would save downtown St. Paul and save especially the Midway corridor area, University Avenue, Midway area. And what I would like to do, and I think is feasible, and I think the government should let us do this, in the federal government, they should let us keep that train downtown St. Paul and over by the Then we go over by the university and we do the same thing. We provide a train that would run from the University of Minnesota somewhere thereabouts, but let's say up to short of the KSTP area, and back downtown, and the students could ride to their homes and ride all over on that. Those two things would be really productive. But if you look at the area along University Avenue coming away from the Capitol, and so what we could do is to hold that off, let the people take their communities back, build their businesses, and try to find a way, if we're going to proceed with that, to use elevated rails in a way that makes the community a lot more livable, and also allows traffic to get back and forth, let's say along Snelling Avenue as it crosses the train tracks along Lexington and the like. Because if you've ever been to 46th Street, and I have, I used to work out at the Cancer Society in Mendota Heights, so I would try to get out to that 46th Street station, and I think it was a 446 or something that I took, and you would literally wait for 15 minutes just to get across the street to get on that train. And this is the kind of backups and inconvenience we're going to see all along University Avenue. It's just going to be insane. So we could hold off on that and implement that in a way that actually helps the Twin Cities. So that's what I would like the other two to accept, that waiver, a federal waiver that would allow us to save the city and to use what we have to go forward rather than to go back, as it were.
To close the unemployment and learning gap, you don't just hire performers to sing and rap. You've got to have employers to make some jobs, not smiling politicians and their adoring mobs. Does anyone even know where jobs could really come from? Well, it's not from Keith Ellison or Betty McCollum. I heard a Republican talking enterprise zone. Now, it's not a bad idea, and he's not alone. An enterprise zone might make things happen. Let everyone join in and don't leave anyone napping. Make it count. Let the voters govern. Our democratic system makes you the sovereign. I'm not a Republican, not a Democrat. Don't have a safe seat, not immune from defeat. I'm running for my office and I'm not standing pat. My congressional district's stuck on Democrat. I want more economic development. I'm running for the House as an independent. Let's give the people back a little liberty. Let's let them all invest in their economy. Let's give them a chance to show their industry. Our hope lies not in homosexuality. Our hope lies in real marriage and voter ID. Let's break open the quota. Let's bring back Minnesota. Let's join the party of independence. Let's leave a world for our descendants. Let's bring them up so they can learn. Let's work together so they can earn. Let's help them raise a family. Let's build a just community. Make it count. Let the voters govern. In our democratic system, you know you're the sovereign. Vote for change. Vote for the Unity Party. In 212, we need America's community party. We still have same-day registration. You just got to find your voting station. Then vote in the morning or vote in the night. Just vote to set your nation right. Vote for change.
But when you break everything else down, all the glitz and glamour about government is one thing, and it's force. Government is the only institution that can legally make you do something that you wouldn't ordinarily do on your own accord. And that's very important to understand. For example, the light rail right out here on University Avenue, people of St. Paul never got a vote for it. You didn't vote for it. It was voted on for you through the state government and through the federal government. And the light rail is causing several problems, I'm sure, as you guys are all aware, living in this area, with businesses closing, just a change in your life. And that was put upon you. You didn't have a choice in it.
I'd like to ask a question in regards to how it's benefiting the community. I graduated from St. Paul Central. When I was a child here, you didn't want to walk down University Avenue, Dale. It was an absolute travesty. The crime rate was high. I come back to serving with the United States military, which a lot of you people here with Democrat politics our country for. I see the Hmong community, I see businesses, I see shops, I see prosperity. Just look across the street. Burger King's closed down. Your business says that this is so good, and you want to make an excuse after you did it. The community wasn't involved. This is a travesty. We have a problem here because you're in a position as a legislature. This issue should have been gone to the committee, not afterwards. The Hmong community and the Asian people made University Avenue a gem and a dark, desolate spot in St. Paul. You ought to be proud of your efforts. Excuse me for speaking. I don't see the benefit other than somebody coming out and light rail, somebody making money. I'd like to know the benefit you're trying to tell me. I see the devastation upon community.
Bây giờ tôi lo hậu St. Paul nó chỉ cũng bỏ hậu vấn đề này cho mong lo nhau cho nó để tất nhiên university nó chỉ muốn giải ra chỉ để cho muốn nên tu sa kia của quần học sư để cho mong lo thì vì nó trao tàu là luôn thì mà mình ta bảo đi nó đến lúc nó tôi cho con nó coi tụi nó có nên một điều gì nó nên chỉ sao là được cho tụi mong mình là cho biết rằng nó nên gì và có chỉ đôi thành nó ta chỉ nó nên riêng nó có Burger King và tua ta là một tua ta thì lúc nó có chỉ biết được một cái lúc nó thì có bảo cho mọi người như vì chẳng nên một điều gì đó họ phải vô trong cái tiền cho ra chỉ thằng có phải đây không.
It's a long-term strategy and it's a complicated question, but just this morning it was announced that the Minnesota Housing Finance Agency is awarding housing dollars to build more high-density housing along the university corridor. So with more high-density housing, more people will be living on the corridor, which will mean more customers for businesses along the corridor. Also, the ability to bring people back and forth between Minneapolis and St. Paul, the transit stops will become a hub for business. It will be very important to be near a transit stop. That will also be very beneficial. In general, for the region, it's true that light rail is more of a boon for St. Paul and for the region.